What's up, everyone? It's your boy, Tony Massey. Welcome back to my kitchen. Good morning. This morning, I'm going to do something really special for you, something that I enjoy. And we are going to do a stuffed French toast with a Grand Marnier sauce or suzette sauce. I think it's going to be absolutely delicious. So let me explain where this came from. I recently migrated from Houston, Texas to Atlanta. And one thing that I learned about Atlanta as soon as I got here, people in Atlanta love brunch. And I can't state this enough. They absolutely love brunch. And so much so that if you're thinking about going to brunch this weekend in Atlanta, you better make reservations like on Tuesday. Otherwise, you're going to be standing outside in a long line waiting, hoping to get yourself some brunch. So you got to learn how to make good brunch if you're going to live in the city of Atlanta, especially with all the traffic and all this other stuff. So I'm going to show you how to make a delicious brunch or breakfast meal right here in my kitchen while you watch. Now, I've had stuffed French toast before. And when I say stuffed French toast, I'm talking about the really sweet cream cheese sauce. But I wanted to take it up a notch. I wanted to take it to another level. So that's why I'm going to add a little Grand Marnier. And the suzette sauce I'm going to make is a real simple sauce. You might see it on crepes. You can put it on pancakes. You can put it on French toast, waffles, or anything like that. I guess my thought process was I can't just put regular syrup on something that's so, in my opinion, elevated. So if you want to join along, if you want to try this recipe, then go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Go ahead and subscribe to the channel and make sure that you hit the alert bell so that you can catch every single recipe that we put up here on the channel. All right, so let's get into it. First things first, let's look at the ingredients. So for the French toast, we're going to use about 4 ounces of whipped or softened cream cheese, 1 tablespoon of brown sugar, 2 tablespoons of powdered sugar. We're going to separate those out into 1 tablespoon each. An ounce of Grand Marnier, 4 slices of French bread, 2 eggs, half a cup of milk, half a teaspoon of ground cinnamon. We're going to do a half a teaspoon of nutmeg. And you might not see that nutmeg in a lot of recipes. I like to add it because it gives an extra kick. I love the extra flavor that nutmeg adds. And then you're going to need 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract. If you can get it, get the regular, get the real vanilla extract. Don't it's expensive, but get the real vanilla extract, not the imitation stuff. And then we're going to need a tablespoon of butter. Now that's for the French toast and the filling. For the sauce from the Grand Marnier sauce or suzette sauce, you're going to need a 1/3 cup of fresh orange juice, 1/3 cup of sugar, 2 tablespoons of Grand Marnier, which works out to about a little over an ounce. Excuse me, 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract, 6 tablespoons of chilled unsalted butter. And you want to cut these into 6 pieces, 6 tablespoons, 6 1 tablespoon pieces, because we're going to add it slowly to the sauce. You'll see. About a 1/4 teaspoon of kosher salt, and that's just to offset all of that sweetness. And then we're going to zest about a teaspoon of zest from an orange. So that's the recipe. I've gotten a lot of feedback from people who say, hey, the videos are great, but where's the recipe? So I wanted to make sure that I added the recipe in there before I got started. Let's go ahead and bring up the food here, which is the real star of the show. Boom, here we go. So we have everything laid out. So I've told you this before. If you ever watch my cooking videos, when you cook, you want to cook in the order in which things are going to be ready. That way, when you serve your food, everything is the right temperature, as opposed to cooking something that is going to sit and then, by the time you're ready to serve it, it's cold. So the order in which we're going to do this morning is we're going to start with the filling. Then we're going to make the sauce and let that simmer. And while we're making the sauce, then we'll go ahead and make the French toast. So let's get started. So if you follow me on TikTok, you know what I usually do here is I'm going to stay true. Is some of your ingredients. Boom. All right, so let's get everything cleared out so we can get started. So again, I'm going to start with my the filling first. And for the filling, I'm going to need the cream cheese. So put that there. I'm going to need the brown sugar. I'm going to need the powdered sugar. I'll need a little of the Grand Marnier. Of course, the vanilla extract. Don't need the bread yet. And I'm going to do this in my KitchenAid mixer. Now, you can do this by hand. I use the KitchenAid mixer just for speed because it's going to whip that butter or whip that cream cheese a lot faster. Let's bring my trusty KitchenAid mixer over. Probably one of my favorite kitchen appliances. I use it all the time, sometimes even when I don't need to. Sure you can see the bowl here. All right, to make that filling, we're going to start with 4 ounces. We're going to start with 4 ounces of softened or whipped cream cheese. That goes in the bowl. And then we're going to add a tablespoon of brown sugar, tablespoon of powdered sugar, and a teaspoon of vanilla extract. And then that 1 ounce of Grand Marnier. That goes in. I want to get all of that cream cheese. Of course, hands are washed. And I'm just going to whip this until I have a spreadable consistency. Of course, this is the problem with going live. Things don't always work. All right. It's like my mixer is malfunctioning here. Okay, no worries. We'll adapt and overcome. Guess we won't be doing it with the mixer. I'll show you how to do it by hand. That's fine. Kind of frightening. All right, so we're going to get our whisk and do what our mixer was supposed to be doing and just whisk that around until it's really smooth. And now you can see why I was going to use the mixer. You can also use a hand mixer as well. But you can see why I was going to use a mixer, because it's going to take a minute to smoothen that sugar out with the cream cheese. And you want it to be almost like a custardy consistency. Really smooth. That worked out pretty well. And that's kind of what I want. It's almost like the cake icing. Perfect. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and refrigerate this until I'm ready to use it. All right, so now I'm going to make the sauce, the suzette sauce. So for the suzette sauce, bring over my pan here. I'm going to start with about a medium heat. And I have a saucepan here. And I'm going to start with 1/3 cup of sugar. Now, instead of just dumping all the ingredients into the saucepan, I want to caramelize the sugar first. So I'm just going to sprinkle the sugar in the bottom of the pan, real even. And I'm going to cook the sugar by itself in the pan and let it brown. The idea here is I'm caramelizing the sugar so that I can get a really different kind of flavor out of it. And it's going to take a couple of seconds here, but you'll start to see the sugar start to brown. Now, you really want to watch this. This isn't a dump the sugar in there and walk away thing, because the sugar will burn and it will just ruin the sauce. So here, the sugar's starting to melt, and you can see here the bottom of the pan starting to liquefy a little bit. I'm just going to keep moving it around. And you can also see that the sugar's starting to brown a little bit. And that's exactly what I want. Keep moving it. Cooking requires patience because sometimes the technique is everything. You see how that sugar is starting to brown a little bit? Keep on moving it around until I get where it almost looks like brown sugar. That's how long I'm going to go. And you see it starting to heat up. And now I have this syrupy mixture, which is what I want. And again, I want to monitor it because I don't want it to burn. That's why I'm just playing with it. I'm just keep moving it around. And that's what I want. See that? It almost looks like a caramel color. That's where I was going to. That's going to be the basis for my sauce. In goes about 2/3 a cup of orange juice. That's going to cool the sugar down, which is good. I'm going to lower my heat just a tad. In here, I'm also going to add, it's getting real sticky, which is great. I'm going to add a teaspoon of vanilla. It's beautiful. It smells absolutely amazing. Now, very carefully, I'm going to add about 1 ounce of Grand Marnier. Carefully. It may flambe, but that's okay. Real carefully. Good. Now, I had you cut your butter up into 6 tablespoons of butter into tablespoon little blocks. And that's because I don't want the butter to burn or scald. I just want it to melt. So I'm going to start adding the butter in 1 tablespoon at a time. And when that tablespoon melts, then I'll go ahead and add another tablespoon. The butter is cold, so I'm cooling down my mixture so that when I add the butter, it just melts and it doesn't scald or get brown. And I don't want that. Right? 2nd tablespoon goes in. And again, the mixture gets cooled down and the butter gets a chance to melt without burning. This Suzette sauce, like I said, you might see this on crepes, but it is a great sauce to put on pancakes, put on French toast. That the orange from the orange liqueur and the orange juice really adds some sweetness. If you know, something different than syrup all the time. Number 3. And I know this is really tedious, but this is a process you don't want to rush. The idea here is you want the sauce to come out nice and sweet, and you just don't want a bunch of burnt butter. But they melt pretty quickly. Here goes number 4. Trying to think of other things you could probably drizzle this on, maybe even a savory dish. I would consider putting this on some salmon. I think it would taste incredible. Number 5. So you have that savory sweet, which is always a nice thing to have in any kind of dish. The best of both worlds, which I think is the whole mindset behind brunch. It's like, it's 1 o'clock in the afternoon. I don't want just a sandwich. I want pancakes too. And the beautiful people at the brunch spot said, I choose. You can have both. And then I'm going to put my last one in, number 6. Now, this sauce, as it continues to cook, is going to thicken as it cools. So once that last piece of butter melts, what I'm going to do then, I'm just going to take it off the heat, and I'm going to let it rest back there on the stove, cover it up, and by the time I'm ready to use it, it'll still be nice and hot for me to put it onto my French toast, but it'll be nice and thick as well. So that's what I want. Beautiful. That's what your sauce should look like. It's a little thin right now, but again, as it thickens, as it cools, it's going to thicken, and it's going to make an absolutely perfect addition to my stuffed French toast. So let's go ahead and put this on the back burner over here. And I'm just going to let that cool off. I'll put a cover over it. That way I can maintain some of that heat. All right, so now it's time to start preparing our French toast. So you can use almost any kind of bread for French toast. Most times you'll see challah bread being used, but you can use French bread. You can use regular bread, that comes out of the grocery store. I've had French toast with Hawaiian, the sweet rolls. Cut those in half, dip those into your batter, into your egg wash, and make that. You can almost, like I said, any kind of bread. The key though is if you're going to use a loaf of bread, I'm going to cut this French bread right in the middle. The key is, and I requested from the bakery day-old bread, because stale bread works a little better because the crust gets really crusty, really flaky. And then also it doesn't fall apart as fast because it's a little stale. It doesn't fall apart as fast when you dip it into the egg wash. So I'm going to cut these slices about 1 inch thick because I want them thick enough, again, so they don't fall apart in the egg wash, but I also want them thin enough so that they cook all the way through. I'm going to cut myself 4 slices here. And of course, you'll cut as many as you need to feed whoever you're feeding. Just like so. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go get my cream cheese mixture. And I'm going to make a sandwich. So I'm going to take some of that cream cheese mixture, and I'm just going to generously apply it to one side of the bread. Now you can do a thick layer on one side, or you can do a really thin layer on both sides. You don't want to overfill these though. So I'll do a real thin layer on this side. And then I'm going to top that up. Same thing over here. Some cream cheese. Oh, I'm not in the camera. There we go. And then I'm going to take my other side and do a real thin layer. Just like that. And I'll keep doing that for as many pieces of French toast that I'm going to make, right? And I'll top this up. Boom, just like that. Now I'm ready to make that egg wash. And that egg bath is a better term because that's exactly what it's going to be. So I'm going to start with 2 whole eggs. To that, I'm going to add half a cup of milk. You can use whole milk, regular milk, or half and half. I like using half and half because it's thicker, which means it sticks to the bread a little better, in my opinion. Okay. I'm also going to add a teaspoon of cinnamon. And then I have a teaspoon of nutmeg. And where's my vanilla? Oh, no worries. I'm going to add, I put it in my other, I got vanilla everywhere. I'm going to add another teaspoon of vanilla to that. And then I'm going to add a little of this powdered sugar. Just maybe a half a teaspoon. We already got enough sweetness. Right? And then I'm going to add a pinch of salt. And now I'm just going to whisk this together as if I was making scrambled eggs. Getting all the eggs and all the ingredients mixed up really well. Perfect. Now I'm going to heat my griddle. Set this over here. Again, make sure that you are subscribed to Tony Massey Cooks on YouTube, on Facebook, on Instagram, on everywhere. All right, I have my griddle here. Go ahead and put it on medium heat. And on my griddle, I'm going to melt 1 tablespoon of butter. While that butter is melting, I want to tell you about something very special that's going to be started up here really soon. I love cooking. I hear people say all the time, I have a passion for cooking or I have a passion for this. I truly have a passion for cooking. I don't mind cooking. That's one argument, one fight that my wife and I do not have. I love being in the kitchen. And not only do I love cooking, I like talking about food. I like talking to other chefs, other cooks, getting their techniques. I love the idea of creating something that didn't exist before. So I say all that to say, starting August the 5th, I'm going to start a new show called Chef in the Spotlight. It's going to be a live program where I'm going to invite professional chefs, amateur chefs, home chefs, chefs that work in restaurants, chefs that have cooking businesses where they are meal businesses where they prepare meals for you, all types of chefs. And I'm going to have them come on and basically give them a platform. Now, these are chefs that I know personally. These are chefs that I follow on social media. One is Darren the Chef. I follow him on TikTok. This brother is incredible. So just get them in and just pick their brains and figure out what's your process. How do you come up with your recipes? How do you keep it fresh? The whole nine. How do you start a business for those who are in the cooking business? What are your tips for someone who wants to transition from cooking for their family to cooking for other people? So August the 5th, we're going to start that program. It's called Chef in the Spotlight. It's going to be every Thursday night, 7 p.m. And of course, you can also catch me on Monday nights with the 4 other brothers that I do real Real Shop Talk. They're going to get me for that. Real Shop Talk. Go to realshoptalk.net. See the links are there for all of our past shows. We're having a lot of fun with this show. Next show is going to be amazing. So make sure you follow us there. All right, let's get back to our French toast. So my butter is nice and melted. My skillet is nice and hot. Now what I'm going to do is take my sandwich here, my French toast sandwich here. I'm going to dip it in that egg wash. Going in one way, flip it over, get it nice and saturated. And then that's going to go right on my skillet. Take my other one right into the egg wash. Flip it over. Get that bread nice and saturated. And that's going to go right on my skillet as well. And again, we'll just repeat this process for as many of these French toast sandwiches, this stuffed French toast that you're making. And I'm going to let that cook evenly on both sides. Don't want the egg to burn. Perfect. It smells incredible. So now what we have here is the French toast. The cream cheese filling is going to start to melt from the heat. You're going to end up with something really beautiful. Not a lot to this. So now I'm going to start preparing my plate. I got some fresh fruit here that I'll use as a garnish slash topping. Then I'm going to top the fruit with a little orange zest. Orange is definitely the star of this this particular meal. Go. Let that one finish cooking. Beautiful. Now I'm just going to cut this in half. My wife eats very small portions. And look at this. Look how beautiful that is. Cooked on both sides. This one there. Cut this one in half as well. Look how pretty that is. Right. Last but not least, or definitely not least, my sauce is thickened beautifully, just like I said it would. So now I'm going to top my French toast here with that Suzette sauce. And then just because I'm fancy, I'm going to hit it with a little powdered sugar. Just put a little powdered sugar in there and just dust it with some powdered sugar. And there we have it. A little more artistic with it. stuffed French toast, the Grand Marnier sauce. And it's going to be absolutely amazing. It's French toast stepped up a little bit. I'm licking my fingers. It's so good. Let's get in here and taste it. French toast stepped up a little bit. Cooked in, you have Grand Marnier in the sauce that goes on top of it. Plus you have Grand Marnier in the cream cheese. The bread is cooked all the way through. That's perfect. Despite all the sugar that's in here, it actually turned out not too sweet, not overly sweet. Very good. So if you are watching right now and your mouth is watering, don't worry. On the replay, when you go back and watch it again, check out the ingredients, go grab them, run to the grocery store, pick everything up. Grand Marnier hits you right at the end there. Pick everything up, and I think you're really going to enjoy this recipe. It's something a little different than your regular French toast. It's grown up French toast. Oh, I forgot. Wait, don't go nowhere. It's brunch. And you cannot have brunch without mimosas. And I like to, so I got 1 part orange juice. I like to add a little, Grand Marnier to my mimosas. Steps it up a little bit. And I stopped using champagne in my mimosas and started using Prosecco. And I think I get a much better outcome, a much better drink. Now, there we go. French toast, Grand Marnier, French toast with a Grand Marnier stuffing and a Grand Marnier sauce. And then we put a little Grand Marnier into the mimosa. We're going to be full and sleepy. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Tony Massey Cooks. Please, if you're not, this would be a good time to go and follow me everywhere. Make sure you follow realshoptalk.net so you can catch every single episode of Real Shop Talk. If you go to TonyMasseyCooks.com, everything is on there, including links to my first 2 Chef in the Spotlight shows. You don't want to miss that. It's going to be absolutely amazing. Getting into the mind of another chef. I also pull some videos so that you can see some of their work. These are some talented people, and I'm really excited to showcase them and share my platform with them. My name is Tony Massey. I really appreciate you tuning in. I appreciate you following me. I appreciate all the love, and I'll see you next time.